Welcome along to another opposition preview, the show that gives you a lowdown on Saints' next opponents. And we're back in Premier League action on Saturday with our trip to Watford and Vicarage Road to hear tell us about the Hornets. And also for the second week in a row, we're joined by a nominee for the podcast of the year for the FSF Awards. This time it's John from the Watford show, From The Rookery End. John, thanks for joining us again, mate. How are you?
All good, sort of. Well, yeah, we're fine, let's say.
When we spoke last, you were on a bit of a hot streak, pushing up the table, quite a few wins on your belt at that time, of course going on to beat us 2-0 at St Mary's, but it's tailed off a little bit since then. I mean, only one win in 9 in the league at the moment, which is only sort of mildly better than our form anyway, but why has there been a mid-season dip in form? I think it's mildly better than a lot of teams. That's the thing about the Premier League this season. It sort of started with us. We played a game at Everton away. And we are putting it down to Marco's head being turned. That the job at Everton was sort of talked about. He was the hot manager because at that point we were on a big streak, and he sort of, it seemed I think it did unrest us a little bit, but also we were sort of hit with a few injuries. We are, as lots and lots of teams in this division, have got really strong players, and a really strong 11 when they're all fit. And we lost Chalobah. I think we lost a little bit of our midfield three we had. Of Chalobah, Decore and Cleverley they were such a core part of it. We're scoring goals in midfield and we haven't particularly been scoring them up front. And when Chalobah went out, it sort of put things off. And then another injury there, we never quite got to settle. And that goes for our defence as well as our midfield. Not that it was terrible, but Will Hughes, we signed from Derby in the summer, had come in and done well, but then he got injured, and as a new player to the Premier League, he needed more games. So that's why I think it sort of fell over. Yeah, and you've succumbed to a lot of injuries in the first team, as you mentioned. They're leaving a few holes in the squad. But also what I've noticed as well is your discipline, which might have cost you in some of the recent games. I mean, just how much does it affect the team sort of mentally or maybe even physically as well?
Discipline is always weird, Troy's the one who's gone. Yeah, he's 7 games out. He's had now the 3 and then the 4 because it's a repeat. That was sort of a bit harsh, but then he isn't vital really. But again, with Chalobah being out, showed a thing, and when Decore went out, it really showed us up. I think about how maybe mentally we know what our strengths are, and maybe mentally the players put such an onus on those strengths. And with Decore out for our Brighton away, we were just horrendous. It was the worst game we've seen this season away at their place. It just a few bits here and there. But I think more than anything, it's a combination of all the things that we sort of talked about. We've just sort of taken a back step slightly. But you can still see the bits and bobs are there, just not quite there enough. But we had, against Bristol City this weekend, a professional performance, not a lightning brilliant one, but a professional performance, and that's where we sort of need. That's what felt like a building block for what could be hopefully a better second half of the season than we've had so far in the Premier League since our return. And
we've been quite strong in midfield this season, but we'll see what happens on Saturday. But hopefully we should exploit those weaknesses. But you've mentioned Bristol City there, and of course it'd be rude not to touch upon the FA Cup draw. Yeah. 4th round. Of course we see on Saturday, but we meet once again in the next round of the Cup. I mean, at the end of the month as well, back at St Mary's, what's your reaction to the draw? Are you satisfied?
Sort of. We're massive fans of the FA Cup. On this week's podcast, you listened to the beginning of it, we were talking about just how great and how important it was. We were all 40 or nearing 40. The FA Cup to us as young supporters was massive, and it's really important. And we want to sort of bang the drum about it. So we're going to come down. It isn't just like, oh, it's a weekend off. We're going to make a big trip down to St Mary's for the 4th round. He just wanted Rochdale. I haven't been to Rochdale for God knows how long. Not that we wanted an easy win, but because they would play their best. But you just want to go somewhere a bit different. I think that was the only disappointment. But keep away from the big boys is sort of nice. They're not as special as they used to be when we were in the Championship, and it's we see them all the time now. You're a bit blasé about them, but it was good. And I think for 4th round tie, it sort of seems like it will be good. But I suppose Saturday will be the big showing of what that game could be. Come the end of the month.
Yeah, very much a dress rehearsal on Saturday, maybe.
And I think it will be, because the team we put out against Bristol City wasn't a weak one. there was Richarlison, who we talked about before. He's the hot young, and he didn't start, and that's the first time he hasn't really started for a while, but he still came on. And he didn't necessarily, when we looked at our starting 11, it wasn't like that was weak. There were some changes, but it wasn't. Deeney came, but he hadn't played for a month, so it's quite a good thing for him to just get some minutes, if in case ever all the other strikers either get sold or they get injured. So there were some changes and some definite things won't be happening next week or this weekend, should I say, against you in a proper Premier League game. But it could be a good sign of how things are going to be. It is at the end of the month. It's right at the end of the window. I suppose the only thing that could be for both sides is the FA Cup fourth round. I think is often first chance to see some signings. We've definitely seen that in previous January transfer window. So that could be the thing that sort of, even though we see something this Saturday, it could be the thing that throws things up. Come the end of the month.
Yeah, I hope there is some signings because we're sitting on it at the moment. But actually, historically, about 14 years ago now, we made the FA Cup final in 2003. Beat Watford, of course, in the semi-final at Villa Park. And I think around that time, it was your former manager, Graham Taylor, who was in and around at Villa Park at the time. And a poignant little touch this weekend marks the year anniversary of his passing. Former Watford manager and England manager, of course. Just tell us a little bit about what the tribute's going on around the ground on Saturday. It's
going to be his first anniversary of his death on Friday. So I'm not wearing a scarf for aesthetic reasons. So just before the game, there will be, as the players sort of come out, the whole idea is that Watford fans are going to hold a scarf up and going to show a sort of mark of respect for the end of the year. In the 72nd minute, some of your fans might have noticed when we played at St Mary's that we do a round of applause for a minute there, just for Graham. He died when he was 72 years old. And he wasn't just our ex-manager, he was the defining man of our football club. And I suppose for especially, again, men of my age who were around in the 80s, when we were really young, junior Hornets, what that club was and what he did and what he set up was so important to us becoming Watford fans. And it's still the values that we hold dear, and are grateful that the Pozzos and the people around the club now still do try and hold those up that Graham started 40 years ago almost.
Yeah, excellent. I do recommend Saints fans try and get involved with that tribute, even if you don't have a scarf to lift up, try and do something in and around the ground. But one final one as well. A lot of us travelling up on Saturday on the trains and on the coaches are sold out in our allocation. So what we want to know, any tips on away pubs in the Watford Junction or Watford High Street?
There's plenty of bars and stuff around the high street. The main one is the one just around the corner from the ground, which is about a couple hundred yards away. That's the main one to go to. The one opposite the ground, the Red Lion, is definitely the home fan one. I haven't really. The pubs I go to aren't really the ones that away fans go to, and they're nowhere near the ground. That's our worst thing. I know it's not quite the same for you. You guys you're a bit out of the sticks as well, but there aren't many pubs around the ground or nearby. So it's always a little bit of a walk for us. So it's there's good be around. I think the atmosphere is going to be good. And if any Saints fans are really interested in the Graham Taylor stuff, the Watford Museum on the lower high street, there's an exhibition that starts there this week, and there's loads of England stuff as well as all the other clubs that Graham sort of did, and there's mementos there which you might like to go past as you head to the ground.
Excellent stuff. And that wraps it up then for our position preview. If you've enjoyed John over here, remember to go and check out the From The Rookery End podcast. John, big thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll catch up on Saturday.
No worries. See you Saturday.
And leave us your likes, your predictions in below for our trip to Watford and Vicarage Road on Saturday afternoon. Leave us your likes, your comments, and subscribe for more.